Hallie with Handmade by Hallie. Welcome to my next video. For this project, we will need this sign from Dollar Tree. We will need one portion of these plastic eggs, these small little bees I got from Hobby Lobby, some twine, some bubble wrap, some mica powder. I'm going to use this gold color. We need some black paint, some yellow paint, some white paint, and a paint pen. We will also make a bow with these coordinating ribbons. And let's get started on this project. So let's get started on this video. We're going to use this tray I got from Dollar Tree and paint our sign black all the way around the edges as well. We will do 2 coats of this black to make sure it's covered completely and let it dry before the next part. Next, I will take some white paint and do a base coat of white on my bees. I did change my mind with using the large one that you see here, and I did end up making a welcome tag, and you'll see those supplies later. So we do a base coat of white because that helps the yellow stand out and be a little bit brighter. So we'll cover all of these little bees, even the sides, and I do 2 coats of this white on the bees. Next, I will get out my yellow and we will paint the center part of these little bees yellow. I do at least 2, if not 3 coats of this yellow, including the sides, until they are coated enough that I like the look of the bee. Now that the black is dry, I will draw some lines on the base, and this is to make it look like it's a palette wall or palette pieces. And I do go over these lines a couple of times. The color of the pen that I'm using is a kind of a cream color. Next, I'm going to get some more white and water it down just a little bit. And I'm going to pull out the bubble wrap and I'm going to cut and tear some smaller pieces off. And we're going to use this to dip in the paint and dab it on the base. And this is going to give us kind of some of that beehive kind of shape. So first I'm going to use the white. And I do this in a couple of different places. And just keep dabbing and keep adding to where you think you got enough on there. Then I'll take another piece and get some yellow on. And dab the yellow. And I don't necessarily want the color or these 2 colors to overlap perfectly. So next we will paint our antenna on the bees black, getting around the sides as well. I think these bees are turning out really adorable. Let me know what you think. Next, we are going to open this package of Easter eggs I got at clearance at Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to take 1/2 and use my styrofoam cutter and cut off the bottom of this to make it flat. You could use a wood burner to do this as well. I don't know that I would try to use scissors, as I kind of trimmed it after I get this cut off, I did find it brittle. So next I take a piece of cardboard and cut a piece to go in the bottom. After I got this finished, I would have preferred to use a little bit thicker cardboard. I did actually feel the hot glue through this as I was doing the next step, but this worked out fine. So I'm just going to take the jute and we are going to wrap around the entire front and the bottom of this egg, and we're making this into a beehive. So I just keep adding glue and going back and forth. And yes, you do end up getting glue on your fingers, not enough to really burn, but you want enough glue to hold everything together, and you kind of have to keep scrunching it together. But I just keep going back and forth. And then I am going to start going around the front part, and I do the same process I just did on the bottom. And I'm not going to show you all of that, but it takes a few minutes, but it doesn't take too long. If you use a thicker rope, then you could go quicker, but this is what I had in my stash, so this is what we used. So in the end, I really liked how this little beehive turned out. Feel free to comment and let me know what you think. Now that we have the basic beehive covered, we're going to go back and I'm going to do kind of a finishing edge around the outside. Now go back and forth a couple of times to achieve that. I didn't do it on the bottom. I could have, but I just didn't do it. Anyway, so the next part that we're going to do is I'm going to take a piece of cardboard and cut an oval. And it doesn't have to be perfect. This is going to be our opening for the beehive. And so I grab a paper towel and my black paint. We're just going to paint that little oval black. Just one coat ended up being just fine. While that's drying, we're going to make a little hanger to hang this cute beehive welcome. And we're just going to tie a double knot, put some glue on the back, and I grab a piece of that cardboard that I had left over, help secure that so it doesn't pull off. Now our hole for our beehive is dry. We'll glue that on, go around the outside of that a couple of times to give it a finished look. And then the next part is one of my favorite parts of doing this beehive. I'm adding a lot of glue on purpose and kind of dripping it down the bottom, and this is going to be the honey that is kind of spilling out of the beehive. I do go back after I paint the glue after it's dry and add a second layer. I had some spots I wanted to fill a little bit better, so I do paint this dried hot glue at least twice. In some places I did paint it 3 times to just make it a nice solid yellow. And here you can kind of see the drips a little bit better. I think those turned out really cute. So definitely let one coat dry and then go back and do another coat all the way around. And then I'm going to add on top of this the fun new product that I found demonstrated by another crafter. So there I do go in and add that second amount of glue and let it dry. So here is where I decided I wanted to make a hanging tag with this welcome vinyl that I had in my stash. So I had this Christmas double tag and I just pulled it apart. Decided I wanted to use the longer one and even it out, but I am going to have to paint this tag. And I really like how this tag comes out. And there I am touching up the yellow again. So we're going to do 2 coats of the white that we had. Let that dry. Definitely do the sides. And I do go back in and do the back side of that little tag in black, so you don't see that it says Christmas or Merry Christmas on it. So here I'm taking that mica powder and I'm just using a Q-tip and I'm rubbing it onto the dried yellow honey, and it adds a gold sheen to it. Now I did make the mistake of grabbing an extra paintbrush and trying to get off the extra off of the Beehive. I did have to go back and put the mica on again, but that's okay. Lesson learned. So now we just glued it on, just put some glue on there. So now I've got some thin wire and I'm pulling out a couple different lengths, wrapping that around a pencil and attaching the little bees, and this will make it look like they're flying. This is one of my favorite things to do with bees and butterflies, things like this in my different arrangements. So those will sit and be ready to use later on. So now we're going to finish up this tag. We're going to dry brush some black, dry brush some yellow, and then I decide I want to pull some more of that bubble wrap and do some of the beehive. And this time I paint it and I end up liking the way that looks even better than the first time I did it. So I do the black, and that was a little dark, so I did white on top to tone it down. And then I go in and do the yellow. So while that's drying, I'm going to cut some ribbon that'll go along the top of our sign. And I do cut off the wired edges. And when I get that all done, I just crisscross these into a good pattern. Save one of those to tie it all together with. So if you're liking this project, wouldn't you please mind doing all those things? Liking the video, commenting on maybe what your favorite part was, and subscribing to my channel and sharing my video with your friends. All right, so our bow is ready. I'm gonna sand slightly the sign and make sure that hole is clear of paint and some of that paint in the hole was wet. Then we're going to take off the pieces we're not using from this sign, and I got out my clear transfer paper. This makes it easy for picking up the vinyls off of your surface. So we just put the clear vinyl on top, rub it a few times, make sure it's stuck good, get it in place where we want it. Make sure to firmly rub that. I do go back with my fingernail and go over all the letters. And then when I go to pull it off, I pull it at a really sharp angle. And there we have our welcome. And I decide to pull out my black paint pen and kind of do some lines, kind of like the bees are flying around the sides. And I think that turned out really adorable. Then we're just going to put one of these bees that we made on that sign. And then I'm going to grab the jute and make a little hanger for this. So this will hang from underneath our bow. So we double tie that knot again and glue that in place. Then put some glue on the back of the bow. And then we're going to put in our extra bees, one coming from the honey and one coming from the back of the hive. This one takes a little bit of finesse to get it to stick in there where I want it to, but it eventually worked. Now I'm just going to trim our ends of our bow, and with this style of bow I'm just doing angled pieces, and I usually wait until I have the bow in place so I can cut everything to the appropriate size. So let me know how much you like this project, if this is something that you want to try. So we're just going to finish gluing that sign on the back. And here you go. Here is our finished project. The bees look like they're flying. The bow is adorable. And the welcome sign with the bees. Thank you for joining me. See you next time.